All right, kiddos, so we are going to be doing the head and face proportions now, and those would be the very first 2 pages, front and back, for your packet, and then you will have the front of your eye sheet. So you already turned in eyes. The front of your eye sheet with the 6 squares says head and face proportions practice, worth 10 points. Draw 5 different heads. These are the squares and places that you do it. So we're going to briefly go over these instructions because there's several of them. I think it gets all the way up to like 16. Excuse me. It gets all the way up to 16. So we're going to go through these fairly quickly. You'll notice that there's little examples on the bottom of how you can take this shape and modify it. And we'll go into variety in a little while. All right, so the very first thing you need to do is you need to start with an egg. You do not start with a circle. You do not start with an oval. You do not start with a square, because I've had people draw heads with squares. You start with an egg. That means it's going to be a kind of like an oval, but it's fatter on top, narrower on the bottom. Does everyone's face look like this? No, everyone's head does not look like an egg. This is just our starting point. Okay? The very next step, and you're going to have a hard time because the print copy kind of killed a lot of these lines. The very next step is you're going to draw a vertical line splitting your egg in half. And then you are going to draw a horizontal line doing the same. You should have half on top and half on the bottom. This halfway line right here is for eyes. Your eyes are halfway in your head. You guys want to draw your eyes way up here. You forget that there's hair on your head. It's like, yeah, you have hair. Your eyes are about halfway down your head. Keep them down here. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to take that bottom half and you're going to divide it in half again. That is your nose line. Your nose is halfway down from your eyes to your chin. Okay? At this point, we got a couple more complicated lines to get through. The very top is going to be divided into thirds. 1, 2. We have our brow ridge line, so the top of our eyebrows, and we have our hairline. Your hairline comes down into your head. So that is number 4, divided into thirds. The top one is your eyebrow line. The bottom one is the highest point of your eyebrows. Step 5, that bottom half you're going to split in half again. So you've got the whole head divided in half. You have the bottom half divided in half. And then you have the bottom quarter divided in half again. That is your bottom lip line. We talked about that briefly when we did mouths. The bottom of your lower lip goes on that line. Again, I apologize, the prints have pretty well killed these lines out. So if you feel like you need to mark in your workbooks to kind of bring those lines back along with the video, please, please, please feel free to do so. You can kind of see them, but they're not very clear. Okay? So now you've got a whole bunch of lines on here, and you're probably getting a little confused. What are all these lines? We still have a couple more to do, and they're very quick. Your eyes take up 1/5 of your face. Now what that means is that you actually have, and you know, you can watch me, I'll do it in the classroom too. Your eyes actually take up 1/5 of your head. So that means the width of your eye is the same as the outside edge. So 1, 2, the same as in between, 3, 4, and 5 to the outside of your head. So you have an eye width on either side to the outside of your head, these eye widths, and there's an eye width in between your eyes. So you have 5 sections, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections that you're going to need to create for your eyes on that big line in the halfway point. All right? After that, you have where all your features need to go. You need to map them. I don't expect you to take a fully resolved version for this. Just kind of lay in eyes, so a little bitty almond shape, an almost nose hanging out over here, almost lips. And the ears, believe it or not, kiddos, the ears actually match up with your eye and your nose line. So when you're doing ears, the top of the ear starts at your eye line. It may go up a little bit. Okay. So your ears, they start here at the eye line. They extend above the eye line, and they connect back to the head at the nose line. So your ears are usually, they're either bigger or smaller than what you usually draw. You guys either draw these huge hunkin' Dumbo-looking ears on the sides, or you draw these tiny little peanuts that are attached to your head. They're right in between your eyes and nose, okay? So you have that. That's step 8. Step 9 is we start getting into detail. Now, I would like for you to start building it. So pupils, irises, eyelids, Add in the hairline. You know where it's supposed to go. Create the shape that matches yours. All of us have different contours. Some of us get our edges done, and some of us have it a little bit looser. At some point, you need to loosely draw that in the hairline area. Okay? Now, as for the neck, what you're going to do is you're going to actually take your headline, the one right in the middle, you're going to extend that down almost a whole head length. It's usually about half of that. So you take a half a head. Down here, you're going to make this dot. This is actually where your collarbones meet. Some of us in this classroom know that a little bit more intimately right now. But about halfway down right here, you're going to make this. And you're going to connect your ear line in a triangle down to that point. And you're going to curve to about halfway out. Okay? And I'll show you this in more detail, how this works. But the instructions are here. Make sure you read them. All right? Your shoulders, you guys draw really tiny shoulders. Your shoulders are generally a full head wide. So you have this width right here. You have another one on either side. And that is how far your shoulders typically come. So you take your collarbone, you draw that line across it. That is how far your shoulders actually come. Okay? So here's that line going across. Here's this little U shape at that halfway point. Here's your wide shoulders. That you guys never draw wide shoulders. Y'all draw really tiny shoulders for some reason. Give yourself shoulders. You guys actually have to stand and have arms. They're there, I promise. All right? So you can end the trapezius muscle, which is this guy right here, a little bit earlier, and then have the curvature meet that line. Okay? But that's how you're creating shoulders. It's how you create the neck. Once you have all that done, you're going to need hair. We'll talk about hair in a little bit more detail later. But hair is just shapes, guys. You're not going to draw every single hairline. For the love of God, don't draw every single hair. All right? Just draw big shapes, general masses about where the hair goes. Figure out where the split in the hair is, because most of us have a split in our hair. Sometimes it's in the middle. Sometimes it's off to the side. Depends on how you comb it. Add some flyaways and loose hairs, because let's face it, there's not enough gel in the world to make sure you guys don't have flyaways. Just deal with it. Then we're going to add extra details to the background. So make sure we're filling in the page. Don't turn in something that's empty. Add clothes, add jewelry. She's got an eyebrow piercing and a nose piercing because back in the day, but we're not going to talk about that now. Put stuff in the background. Put stuff that's related to you. If you guys play baseball or softball or some sort of sports, put stuff in there. Have you hold something. It's cool. You don't have to just draw a bland person. You can add you into that picture personality-wise by adding stuff. All right? So that's it in a nutshell. So let's go through the steps again. We're going to actually draw it this time. I'm going to turn my paper this way. I'm going to zoom in just a snitch. So we're right here. We're going to start with an egg shape. And at this point, you are welcome to follow along. And it doesn't have to be a perfect egg shape. It could be a funky egg shape. It could be all this. This is a place where you can add a little bit of variety. So here's a narrow egg. I could draw a really fat egg. Okay? See, that egg doesn't look the same at all. That's a completely different egg. I'm actually a little bit too big because I won't be able to fit the shoulders in here if I do it this way. So let me actually... Whee! I want shoulders. So we're going to make this egg a little bit smaller. Just a snitch. Okay? And I want you to notice how lightly I'm drawing. I want you to notice how I'm messing with the line. I'm not expecting the first line I draw to be perfect. I'm not expecting the first line I draw to be perfect at all. I'm messing with it. I'm kind of bringing it back out. Our very first step is we draw a line vertically for the halfway mark, and we draw a line horizontally. Now, it doesn't have to be perfectly halfway. This is another place where you can add variety. It could be a little bit up. It could be a little bit down. Try not to go too much further, though. I mean, honest to goodness, we don't have that much variety. It's not going to be way the heck down here that you're drawing eyes, except in, like, babies. Okay? So I'm going to draw my halfway line vertically here. I'm going to go just a little bit lower here on this one. This is going to be a kid, so the eyes are going to be a little bit lower on their head. All right? Our next step is we're going to divide here. That is the bottom of the nose. When we draw our circles for the nose, that's where they're going to sit on top of. We're going to divide this one in half. That is the bottom of our bottom lip. We're going to divide up here into thirds. So third and a third. Once again, these are all places to add variety. Your nose doesn't have to be exactly halfway. It can be a little bit up. It can be a little bit down. There are points where you're pushing it too far. but you've got some flexibility here. Ditto to the lips. Some of us have really big chins. Some of us have much smaller chins. Move the lip line a little bit accordingly, okay? So I'm going to actually have them have a little bit of a high nose and a little bit of a high lip, because I'm drawing a kid, so kid faces are squished. See the difference between the two? Just moving those lines around a little bit, and you're getting a completely different face, and I haven't even drawn features yet. Okay? The next dividing spot that we're going to have, let me make a mark here. The next dividing spot is the eyes. Okay? So we're going to divide this roughly into fifths. You are probably going to have to adjust it. I know I'm probably going to have to adjust. Well, no, I kind of nailed it that time. But you can adjust it a little bit. They can be closer together. They can be further apart. There are wide set eyes. There are close set eyes. Everyone's a little bit different. This is just a general guideline. So in this case, I'm going to make the eyes even closer. Okay? So that was a little bit different. And I'll zoom in on him in a little while after I'm done. He's his hairlines, though. Okay? And you can move those. Some people have really low hairlines. Some people, particularly older men, have really high hairlines. Back in the 1500s, women would actually pluck their hairlines to make their foreheads larger because it was considered beautiful at the time. And you guys are being all judgmental, but I promise you, squiggle brows were a thing. Okay? So don't even. At this point, we have all of our general features mapped. We know where everything goes. We're going to fill in the shapes. So we're going to draw our eye shape. We're going to say, here's my pupil, here's my pupil. Do them at the same time. It's always easier. Well, technically, that's my iris. Here's my pupil. There's my pupil. I'm going to draw my eye shape. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. And I'm going to add my tear duct into my eyes and all this stuff. It's starting to get a little bit dark so you guys can see it. Eyelids, eyelids. The nose, we have our 3 circles. Believe it or not, your circles are going to come almost halfway up the nose. So we have our middle circle, we have our side circle, which incidentally, your nose, this is not something that you talk about all that often, your nose is the same width as the distance between your eyes. So make your nose a little bit wider. I know this looks funky right now, but just wait, okay? So the circles sit on top of here, the lips, this is the bottom of the line. I'm going to rotate that just a little bit to accommodate for my hands. This is the bottom lower lip, so you need a mouth line. The mouth line usually goes all the way down to your pupils. So we're going to extend that out. There's my mouth line. Okay? And we have our general features. The ears, guys, it's not hard. It's literally like just a letter C that's backwards on this side, and then it's a letter C on this side. I need the nose line. It's a letter C. Remember, it starts at the eye line, it extends up a little bit, and it comes down. We're just going to put a placeholder there for right now. We'll talk about eyes later. All right? So we have a general face, needs a hairline. Everybody's got different hairlines. Some people have these nice little sideburn things going on, and then it comes out. We're going to do like a Mickey Mouse thing. Mickey Mouse. Okay? People have widow's peaks. I actually have a really small one. Some people have really big ones. They're not always dead center. Sometimes they could be just a little bit off. It's a place to get some variety. Okay? Some people have really flat hairlines. So you may have, this side of edge here. Some people shave up and have like this tiny little indentation right here. It's all different for people. So look at what yours is, figure out the size, figure out the shape, and get that line in there. This little baby over here, I'm going to give him his eyes. I'm going to give like a really quick shape instead of measuring things out. I'm going to give a little bitty nose. It's my nose. It got really dark. Can you lighten it up? It got really dark. Come here, you. Okay. Nose. And a mouth line. Just above. Right there. Okay? Eyebrows. This is the highest your eyebrows are ever going to get. Don't actually push that line. Try to set right above where your eyes are. They're going to usually be a boxy shape with a tail that tapers off. Okay? Girls, doesn't matter how much you pluck them. They're usually going to be a boxy shape with tail that tapers off and gets smaller. Okay? That's the easiest way to draw it. And this is just a guideline. You're not going to keep that shape. You're going to actually create a hair texture in there later. All right? So we have basic features, we have all this stuff. We can start adding definition here. Now I've done a slightly wider egg. We have this chin line, so we're going to bring this chin out a little bit. because I want him to have a bigger chin. This person's going to have a more chiseled jaw. This person's going to have a more chiseled jaw, so we're just going to kind of take that round and square it off just a bit. Okay? And mess with your features to figure this stuff out. I'm not going to get too far, but you can use the egg as a guideline. Use it as a starting point. Make adjustments as needed. Just go have a you'll be fat chin, you'll be fat cheeks, because he's a baby. And raisins. He needs ears. Forgot his ears. Okay. Make him a bald baby. All right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do our neck. We're going to take this measurement right here. So the halfway from the eyes to the chin, and we're going to duplicate that measurement and make a mark. That's where the collarbone's going to meet. So we're going to draw from the ears down to that mark, from the ears down to that mark. Y'all like, he looks like an ice pick something or other. Yeah, that's fine. You're not wrong, but we're going to go with it. This is the mark. This is going to be that little bone shape that you have right about here. Okay, you can physically feel it with your fingers. This is what we just drew. It's about the distance from your chin to your eyes. See that? Standard human proportions. Okay? We're going to make a mark at about halfway down there. We're going to extend that out. And I'll explain why in a minute. We're going to go ahead and extend that out. These aren't necessarily in the instructions, it's just an easy way to approach it. The width of the head is where our shoulders need to end. Now, I've actually taken this almost all the way to the end of the paper. If I measure this out, it goes a little bit beyond. But you can make slightly narrower. You can make slightly broader. Everyone's got slightly different shoulder widths. But for the love of goodness, guys, this doesn't happen except in little green aliens. You need shoulders, peoples. Please make sure you have shoulders. Okay? Your neck needs to be thick enough to hold the bronchial tube, the trachea, the esophagus, all of the jugular veins that put blood up to your head, and your spine. So don't give yourself a freaking pencil neck. You guys have necks, I promise. Okay? So we have this width. I'm going to take the width of the shoulders all the way out here to the edge of the paper. You're going to take this line and you're going to curve it out. Okay? Your trapezius muscles are the shoulders that are the muscles that make you shrug. Some of us in here can't use them all that well right now. They tend to have a slightly upward curve. They don't always. Some people have really weak muscles, so they'll have like a convex curve. They usually bulge out a little bit. Then you're going to round out the shoulder. Round out the shoulder. Okay, so inside curve, bump. Inside curve, outside curve, bump. Now these are also places that you can add variety. You can do a thinner neck. You can. You can have a slightly thinner neck. It's still going to come off the jawline. It's still going to connect back out to about there when it starts to curve out. You can have a thinner trapezius muscle, and you can have a bony shoulder. Okay? All of this still works. You can have a really thick neck. If you are a muscle builder, your curve is going to end up a little higher. These are going to definitely bulge a little bit more, and your shoulders are going to be protruding out a little bit more. All of these necklines are perfectly acceptable. See all that variety? It's a huge range. I'm going to stick with the middle dude. Okay, so feel free to add the variety in. I'm going to take all this variety out for right now, though. All right, so we have our shoulder line. We have our neckline. It looks pretty realistic at the moment. It's not done. There's no shading. In order to complete it, we want to add a little bit of shading. Just a little bit. Needs that lower eyelid. It's going to actually need a nose with the nostrils wrapping around and up and in. I'm going to give him a really funky bridge. The bridge will come up to the eye line usually and curve back in. Okay, so I'm going to give him these nose here. Nose here, add the shading to the nose. Whee! And the bridge. Whee! Okay, we're going to add a little bit of eyelashes. Not much. Give them hooded lids instead of the big ones. Couple on the bottom. Staying away from that actual line. For his mouth, I kind of like this almost half smile thing I got going on over here. I'm going to keep it. Give him his upper lips in shadow. Lower lip. Keep it simple for this guy. And the shadow for the chin. A little more shadow going on here. Add some actual hairlines. They go up, and then they go down. And they go up, and then they go down. Add some wispies, let's be honest. The hairline, guys, don't leave it as a line. You're going to want to take it, and you're going to want to mess it up. Just add, just like we did with the wolf, add some simple lines right in here. I will eventually give him a hairstyle. Give me a second. Try to figure out what direction the hair goes for those areas. Okay? In this case, I think I'm going to steal Mason's hair. It's got a split right about here. Kind of bouffant right here. Kind of curves back around. General shape. Just get the general shape of the hair. Quick lines. Okay? Yeah, I'm going to give Mason a haircut, though. Okay? I don't have every single hair. I have a general shape. And I kind of pulled that in. As far as ears are concerned, we're going to simplify it in just a second. Or we'll go over it in a little bit. They're not complicated. They are. They're a very complex form. But we can represent them fairly simply without too much work, with just a couple little tricks. Okay? Next thing you need is you're going to have to add clothes. For the love of God, don't draw yourself without clothes on. My God, please. Okay? Figure out where collars need to be. Figure out, and please add those details. The collars in the shirt versus just drawing a line for the edge. Figure out how to make it look like it's wrapping around your shoulders. Give it some texture. It's probably a little bit low. Most guy t-shirts don't actually go past that collarbone. So we'll just pull that back up. Look, I have an eraser. It's almost like I made a mistake and I can fix it. It's so weird. Add details. Some guys wear earrings. Boom. There we go. Why not? He could have glasses. I have glasses. Why not? Try to keep it a guy style, though. They don't tend to wear, like, these big, fishy-looking lenses. For the record, eyeglasses sit at ear height, for example, for the love of all things. Once you have the basic shape, as with everything, it's got thickness, guys, I promise. Okay? So there's a person in the shadow. Glasses cast shadows. That's a basic head. I can do the same thing over here. Babies have a slightly shorter neck. Same process. Down about a half of the head. Their little shoulders are generally kind of chubby because babies. It's just how it works. They're still broader, though. They're not as broad as children. Your shoulders do broaden up as you get older because otherwise babies wouldn't be born if their shoulders were much broader. Let's be frank. Okay? They may have hair. I'm just going to, little baby curl, whatever. Alright? But you can see by moving that around, this person doesn't look anything like this person. Right? You can move things around. The lips could be lower, the lips could be higher, the lips could be fuller, the nose could be broader, just a little bit broader than the inside of the eye, and all of a sudden you have a completely different person. Change the bridge shape. It'd be a completely different person. You guys have to draw 5 heads. I expect them to get to this level with stuff in the background. I don't know who this is, so I'm not going to draw anything in the background right now. Alright? Add details. That's what this workbook is going to be. That's what I expect you to do. I will load this up on YouTube in a little while.